Hello, beautiful souls. How are you today? Today is 3/29/2023. It is my arrival date. I really, really enjoy birthdays because, the alternative is not so great. And so I just like the fact that I'm here in this now moment, that I survived this heavy, dense gangster planet this long. 50 years is a long time in linear time to be in this realm. And so, all of us, all of you who have made it this far, give yourselves a pat on the back. I do apologize. I have some Kleenex because my nose is a little runny today, but I think it's just because of the weather where I'm at. It's kind of hot and cold all the time. Um, anyway, so if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I um, peek in on the Galactic Federation Council updates that they have monthly. The one that I had in March on the 11th. I did pick up on some very interesting things. And one of them has continued, well, several of them, but the one I'm talking about right now has continued to be in the news and continued to be a point of interest for several. And so I just want to give my take, my intuitive take, the things that I have pieced together. This is not about facts and figures so much, although I will show you a few things that I did find. So in general, prior to this recent uptick on derailments of trains, we were averaging as a country 3 derailments daily prior to 2022. And I have known several engineers for several different railroads throughout my life, and many, many, many railroad catastrophes occur, and it is never covered. For instance, I know that when there's a derailment and there are space next to the track, they call in the cleanup crew and they normally bury everything that was damaged or destroyed from the train derailment. They actually take away very few things in the form of debris. And so I thought that was very interesting when I first heard it. So I heard that years ago, before I really was aware like I am now. And I remember thinking then, so you actually bury cars, you actually bury laundry detergent, all sorts of stuff that definitely fall under the category of chemical and or potential toxic. And this has been a long-standing policy of the railroad. Another interesting thing is these guys, these engineers, quite often hit humans on the track. And the railroad gives them 3 days off, 3 days to come to terms with that, whatever that looks like for them. And then they're expected back to work. And it's been that way for a very long time. Am I a railroad expert? No, I am not. This is just things that I've been told throughout my life by multiple different people who were employed by multiple different railroad companies. And so it does seem to be the norm. And all of this, by and large, are my intuitive hunches that I verify through source. So take it or leave it. So we went from an average of 3 derailments daily up to 2022 to this massive uptick. The increase is more than 600 in 1 year. So we went from averaging about 1,100 annually to almost 2,000 annually, 22 to 23, 2023. So ironically, or not, the railroad union was volleying a strike because they couldn't get paid time off for more than, I think, 1 day. if anyone had an illness or anything, they accrued the time, but they could never take it off consecutively. So they couldn't be ill for more than a day. Well, illnesses don't really go by that kind of schedule. I mean, hello. And this argument, this discussion that failed in union meetings went all the way to the point of striking across the nation. And lo and behold, on February 10th, 2023, the White House stepped in, intervened private corporations in the name of logistics and transportation, and forced, coerced, leveraged, cut a deal with. I don't know. I wasn't there. Didn't really matter. They avoided the strike of the railroad union workers. Point of interest, East Palestine, Ohio derailment occurred February 3rd, 7 days before this White House intervention. So now we have this big uptick, right? And so knowing what we know, there's a lot of stuff that happens in the transportation world under our noses that have been nefarious, because the mother companies are nefarious. They do not only just ship inanimate objects, they ship things that have heartbeats to places against their will. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So what I want you to think about is it's bigger. It's much, much bigger than probably what you have appreciated before. As the Alliance has worked on clearing and destroying the underground transportation network, we will say, or once that is cleaned up, taking it over so that is always of the light and used for good and not for bad. Those veins and arteries that transect our country have been disrupted. So what would a corporation that needs to move things do? They're going to look for a different route. So the question was posed to G of the Arcturian affiliate on the Galactic Federation of Light Council. And he looks at timelines. He's very methodical, as Arcturians are. He's very technologically advanced. And he looks at timelines, and he looks at actions, and he looks at predictions. So from him, the derailments that we're seeing are planned tactical events by the shadow government to poison the planet, to distract us as well. While political things are happening in the left hand, they want you to look at the train derailment over here on the right hand. Sounds familiar, right? So usually, and this is my challenge to you, if you have had major toxic chemical events, whether they are on the water, in the air, or the rail, highway system, whatever it may be, look to see what legislation was passed in your city, county, parish, state around that time frame, because that's what G is saying. He's saying that there are pieces of legislation that are being passed while the focus is on the environmental catastrophe fallout, the toxic fallout. So nobody's paying attention. And it's things that, if passed, are detrimental for the greater good. So you may say, well, what is the Alliance doing about this if they know about it? There are laws that prevent them from interceding on every planet. Like, they can't just go around and go, oh, that's right, let's commend them for that, and that's wrong, let's stop that. There's free will. We have to invite them in. Like, there's all these things, consent. So they do intercede for the greater good to a certain point, but it's more reactionary. Okay. So what they're doing is they're reversing the effects of food and water. They're sending healing to the area. They're increasing the fertility of the ground to be able to transmute the negative energies that is there to positive energy so that those grounds can be used for agriculture again safely. They're cleaning water. And this will help shift those areas into a higher timeline. Intentionally positive thinking will help shift to a better timeline as well. So that was basically it from the Galactic Federation. So I started thinking about, I grew up in an area in the South called Cancer Alley. And it's called that because of all the petrochemical corporations that line the Mississippi River between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. There are many, I think probably as of now, 40 to 50, I'm not sure. And so because of the presence there and the byproducts there, there's higher incidences of all cancers. The EPA is always saying that the toxic, air is just under the margin. It's always just under the margin where they have to get cited or fined or whatever, right? All these toxic burn-offs and things like that. Either way, I don't know about you, I speak for myself. I have absolutely zero faith in the measurements, the testing, or the legislation that comes from the government. The EPA is not about improving the environment. They're about lining their pockets and making life difficult, in my opinion. So the chemical tankers that are being put on rail for the trains, those manifests, I intuitively have picked up and confirmed with source, those manifests are being shared out to shadow government. And then they can pick and choose which areas are going to be passing these pivotal legislations. So then they cause the distraction, which actually harms humanity and the environment. And they really and truly do not give a beep. So that's my stance. That's how I feel. I also feel they are using the rail system as an alternative system to transport things that have a pulse and a heartbeat that don't stand very tall. You know what I mean? And so this is known by the Alliance. This is known. They are doing a lot to handle the situation, I'll say. It's not going to be in the forefront yet, but that is coming. Another tactic or byproduct during all of this is that while people are entrenched in these areas that are struggling to get clean water, and their homes are making them sick, and their stress levels are through the roof, and their blood pressures are high, and they are worried about survival, they're worried about having enough money to live, and the place that they're living in is toxic. That is creating buckets of loosh for the dark side. There's less and less of them, but it is against their DNA. It is against their makeup to give up. Until they are officially vanquished, they're still here doing what they do, right? So I say that to say this. Knowledge is power. Knowing these things, you can turn around and go, okay, yep, we had a train derailment. It didn't really make big news, but let's look into this. It might have been that it wasn't a big toxic fallout like Ohio or other places, but it was just enough of a distraction that some nefarious stuff got passed, maybe even in the county or on the city level, but it would still have a really big impact. So if you have a really big city, like Houston, Texas, let's say, that is a huge population city. So a city council, a mayor, could pass something that has a very profound effect on a very large amount of people. So I say, look at that. Look at that. Empower yourselves. Put your position in a stance of proactive instead of reactive. I think that's the best thing, where you feel like you have your power back. So if you live in one of these areas that's had a ship that had toxic whatever go down, train derailment, major accident on the interstate system, plane crashes, like all of those things, look and see if those dates correspond with some stuff that got passed under the radar. I think that's definitely their sleight of hand, look here, not there, is a tactic that they've used for a very, very long time to change laws. And then all of a sudden we see this law has been passed and it's been enacted. And you're like, when did that even happen? It happened while you were trying to survive. It happened while you were trying to feed your family, while you were trying to find clean water. So, yeah. So the Alliance is assisting in clearing and storing healthy food, clean water, all those things. The Arcturians work with the Alliance very closely, as well as the Pleiadians. All the benevolent races do, and they're sending healing to the area. But purposeful, positive thinking, knowing that this does not end negatively, because we do have light beings and positive forces in the Alliance working for the greater good and the positive. It's not going to have the negative outcome that they wanted. We are reversing that. They are not the end all be all. They just think that they are, period. So work on not manifesting the fear that comes with living in these areas. Work on visualizing the life you want to have, whether it's where you currently are or somewhere a different location. Visualize that, because what we're doing right now, as these frequencies are rising for everyone and the solar energies are coming in, we're in training for our manifesting abilities. And so how do we manifest? It's in our thoughts. The battle is won and lost in our mind. So work on thinking about the life you want to have to the nth degree. Visualize it. What does your morning look like? What are you eating? Where do you live? What clothes do you choose to put on? What is the environment for your pets and your children? Is the air clean? Does it smell sweet? Does it have good effects for your body? Does your body feel better? Do you have a warm pool to swim in? Like anything that is what you envision for the golden age, the coming 5D earth, new earth, the life you want to have. Envision it now. Live mentally in that space. You're going to have to do the 3D shit. Like I literally do that, and I still get up and I'm a minimalist and I'm going to still have my stuff I deal with. I do that, but I don't let it push my thoughts down that path. Like I'm not constantly thinking about the weather. I'm not constantly thinking about all the stuff on the TV. I don't even pay any attention to it. That's not my world. I choose not to give that airtime. I note things of importance because it comes to me from source. And that's how I know it's something that I'm supposed to pay attention to, that I'm supposed to get a message from, figure out the meaning for all of us and share it out. That's what I've been called to do. So try to practice that, because what we think about is what we're going to manifest. So if we're always thinking about the monsters are going to knock at our door. If we're always thinking about negative things, the negative things are going to keep happening. If you're always thinking about waiting, gosh, I'm waiting, I keep waiting for this and I keep waiting for that and nothing ever changes, that's what's going to happen in your life. You have to shift the energy. Think positive thoughts. Don't entertain the negative ones. Don't live in the fear factor. Don't live in the shame, blame, pain factor. Okay? Make small positive changes for you and it ripples out from you. I promise you. Purposeful, positive thinking. Envision the life you want to have, the life you deserve to have. We all deserve this life. We all deserve a very, very wonderful, ease, flow life. You will enable a higher timeline to become your reality. You will manifest the higher timeline. I've done it. I've seen it happen. It is literally a battle won or lost in your mind. So, train derailments do mean more than the obvious. They do have effects that could be long lasting. The main long lasting effect that you'll have to deal with is the government, the laws, the statutes, the amendments, the things that are getting pushed through without your knowledge. The Alliance is working on the environment. Sad to say, but we pretty much have more effect on that than we do the nefarious actors passing laws that are not for the greatest good. So that's where your focus needs to be. Calling their attention to it. Hey, we had this toxic spill on this day, and I went to the county records and found that this was passed through at the same time. And I think this deserved more attention and more of a vote. How come we didn't hear about this? How come this was kept quiet? How come this decision was made without, why wasn't it shelved? Why wasn't it pushed back? Because it's important. Why'd you wait to do this or choose to continue to do this while we were wondering where we were going to get clean water or food, or if we were going to get sick being in our own homes? Push that envelope. Put the ball in their court in the matter of answering your questions. Make them say why they chose to do what they did. You stay on a higher frequency. You are vibing high frequency. If you're watching me, you are. They are going to be very uncomfortable in your presence. But you know the truth. And you just say that with certainty. Source backs you up. You are not Mr. Whoever, Mrs. Whoever, Miss Whoever. You're not working in the greatest interest of the people of this county, city, state who voted for you, allegedly. And I need you to answer these tough questions. Put it back on them. Put it back on them. If you have the ability to speak to your higher self, you're clear of negative energy and you're going to get straightforward answers. You can confirm this with source. If it's in your highest and best good to even go down this road of asking questions, you may just need to go straight to the high timeline, envisioning the life you really, really want to move up and out of that low vibrational timeline that you inadvertently got stuck in because of someone else's decision. But it is possible. You do not have to live there. And I mean there in your being, in your psyche, in your consciousness. You do not have to constantly feed the fear of, is the water safe? Is my home safe? Am I going to be able to feed my family? Because the more you think about those things, not that they're not real, I'm completely empathetic to it. I get it. But the more that you think about it and you let that churn, the more that it will be the reality that you manifest. So while you have to function in that to an extent, think about the positive timeline, and then that will be what manifests. So what you really set your thoughts on and your intentions to, and that's the energy that you put forth, that is going to be what you manifest. I hope that this helps you a little bit in dealing with these toxic derailments and the other potential things that could happen on the waterways and the roadways and in the skies. We do absolutely have a game plan on the higher timeline where no one is harmed and we are able to thrive. And that is where I invite you to go. Thank you for joining me today on Healing Disclosures, and I'll look for you next time.
It's the key to life. It makes it possible for us to get out the door, challenge ourselves, and find joy. There are few things more important than our health. Throughout history, there have been breakthroughs in health technology that have made our lives longer, more vibrant, more joyful. Breakthroughs that have fundamentally changed how we think, learn, and live.
This is where the future lies, and this is why redox chemistry and supplements that employ this are so powerful.
They literally turn on and turn off, signal every single process in every living cell. And to be able to stabilize a product that allows us to replenish that is just a phenomenal breakthrough.
This has the capability to change the landscape of the healthcare system as we know it.
What if one of the biggest breakthroughs in health technology was actually something small? A breakthrough technology that works at the cellular level, where health begins.
This truly is a transformational technology. It's an elegant and very simple product that's having a profound impact. When people ask me what I'm most excited about, it's the fact that we own the space of redox right now.
A health technology so unique and cutting edge that it is transforming health at a foundational level and changing lives all over the world.
I started using the product and I could see that it was real. It was a real deal.
And the way it changed my life was absolutely mind-blowing.
ASEA was something truly special. It was unique.
It has had tremendous impact on my life.
You know, sometimes you just have that kind of feeling that you're just going to take a leap of faith, and that's what I did.
And that became a defining moment where I started sharing it with everyone.
It's life-changing. I mean, it gave me my life back. In one word, it's profound.
A technology that empowers the most basic building blocks of your body to thrive. ASEA Redox.